Jalen Duren was the steal of this draft. He'll be Rookie of the Year this year.
These guys are the guys. You want to see a Pistons team that has this young core.
Well, Cade Cunningham is terrific. He's not the super-duper star that's going to score you 30 points a game, but he is the leader.
Cade doesn't mind letting denIvey shine.
He has no ego.
He has no ego. Cade Cunningham came to Detroit Pistons do one thing, and that was win a championship.
Really excited, guys, to talk about a 113-109 win, the Detroit Pistons against the Orlando Magic in Game 1 of the NBA regular season last night. And, guys, it was just, look, Braylon, I'll come to you first on this, man, but I'm not sure you could have a more impressive debut if you tried. Aside from getting down, like, what was it, 22-6 or something?
Bad first quarter.
Right, bad first quarter. I don't know if you could ask for much more than what we saw last night from these guys.
Listen, I'll start off by saying this. I like to keep things in perspective, especially after you watch the Lions dupe a lot of individuals at the start of the season. This was the Orlando Magic, who last year had the worst record in the NBA.
Wins.
That's why they had the number one pick, who you saw go 25-5-5, Paolo Banchero. So I had to throw that out there. With that being said, I haven't been this excited about a Pistons team since the 1980s with the Bad Boys team, and I'll tell you why. This new NBA that we've been watching for a very long time. This new NBA.
Wait a minute, you skipped over 04.
No, not even that team.
Wow.
As exciting as this team has the potential to be. You know why? That team was a little older. Now those guys were great players, and even when they were younger, they were great players, and I'll get into that. But those guys weren't the athletic freaks that the NBA now has. This NBA has guys like Russell Westbrook that have been doing it for a long time. You got the John Morants, the Zion Williamsons, and the list goes on. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guys that play above the rim, the guys that make your team. It makes you excited about turning on the Milwaukee Bucks. It makes you excited about turning on the Memphis Grizzlies, and et cetera, et cetera. Now we got those guys. We got Jalen Duren, as you talk about, playing above the rim. We have denIvey playing the fastest of any guards in the NBA, or he's up there with the fastest guards in the NBA. You now see that young talent. Watching them was exciting because they're young, they're together, they're going to have opportunity to play together for a while. We've built through the draft. Troy Weaver and the Detroit Pistons have built through the draft, and it was fun to watch it. We keep asking, when is it our turn? Well, last night I saw a team that got it done, and you see Bojan Bogdanovic. You ask, where's he at in his growth with the Pistons? 24, 6 of 8, three-point shooting. He's doing what we brought him here to do. That was good to watch. Beef Stew said he worked on his three-pointers. You see Beef Stew hit a three-pointer late in that game. It was fun to watch, but the thing I noticed most without going too far, you see they got me excited. You see they got me jacked up a little bit, all off Mountain Dew. Did you see when they took all the starters out in the fourth quarter when they were up 9? And then the guys came back, talking about the Magic, and then they came back, and then they end up still going out there and closing the game. If they don't take the starters out in that moment, this game would have got a lot uglier, considering they started 22-6. Detroit Pistons, I'm not saying they're in the playoffs. I'm not saying they're going to win the Stanley O'Brien, but it was just good to see because we've sold so much non-athletic basketball in the last 15 years.
You just mixed the Stanley Cup and the Larry O'Brien trophy together and
called
it the Stanley O'Brien,
which
we want to win here. We want them both. We want them both.
We're 2-1 and 1-0. We'll take them both.
Listen, I happened to go to the game last night, so it's a 7 o'clock tip. They tipped a little bit after 7, maybe 10 after or so. But the place was almost empty at the beginning of the game when Mason was doing his intros. And slowly but surely, they filled the place. I mean, I was sitting... they had us up in the rafters last night, but I moved down. I went and sat in the upper deck. Then I moved down to the bottom. But the upper deck didn't start filling till the second quarter. So I don't know if they're not letting people in quick enough, or people forgot that it was a 7 o'clock start. But you got to get there early for the game, man. You got to get there for Mason.
Yeah, we got to get back on track to the good things, the positive things, which was the Pistons actually did win. Maz, you were there. What did you see about the chemistry of this young team and the excitement in which they played with?
Way to lead it, Bray.
I loved it. I loved what they did. I was a little nervous in the first quarter, but I was just nerves. Once they got going,
team, baby.
It was phenomenal. And I love what denIvey did. He scored the first points. So did Paolo Banchero for the Magic. So the two rookie first-round picks scored the first baskets for each team. But I don't know what it is about. Well, Cade Cunningham is terrific. He's not the super-duper star that's going to score you 30 points a game, but he is the leader. They put him up on the big screen. He's the guy that leads this team. He's the one that said, thank you to all the fans for coming out. Thanks for supporting us. They built this team around him. He's the last guy announced on the court. But Jalen Duren was the steal of this draft. He'll be Rookie of the Year this year.
Let me ask you guys this, and I think this is part of my excitement for this team. And again, I'm not going to have some overreaction to they're going to make the playoffs, and I don't even expect them to make the playoffs. But I think my excitement level is about the fact that these guys are the guys now. It's going to take them a couple of years to get together. It's going to take them a couple of years to grow, find their way in the NBA. But these guys are the players. You don't have to root for another lottery pick. Oh, maybe this year if we lose 25 games or if we only win 25 games, we'll get that number 1 pick next year. I mean, maybe the sun shines on you and you get that number 1 pick. But you're not sitting there like the only way we're getting better here in Detroit is if the Detroit Pistons find a way to get that number 1 pick. That's just not the case. These guys are the guys. You want to see a Pistons team that has this young core, one of the youngest teams in basketball, that is going to develop together. And when you look at that fan base last night rooting for the team and going nuts at LCA, man, you can't help but look at Troy Weaver and say, damn, job well done, man. Job well done. You got some players in here that are going to develop.
You got to be excited. You look at some of the younger teams that are getting to the playoffs now and having success. You look at the Minnesota Timberwolves last year. Anthony Edwards was the number 1 pick in the 2020 draft. It took them a second to get into the playoffs. Last year, they make an appearance in the playoffs. Look at Memphis. Memphis drafts Ja Morant. Ja Morant, odds-on favorite in a lot of people's books to win the MVP of the year this year. 2 years ago when he gets drafted, or 3 years ago, he wasn't in the playoffs with the Memphis Grizzlies. So it does take time when you're building it through young individuals. But, man, it just looks good to go out there and watch. You got a guy that's competent in terms of Bojan Bogdanovic that can hit the corner 3. You know how long it's been since the Pistons had a guy in which you knew he was going to knock down that wide-open 3. Same problem a lot of guys that are having that are playoff caliber teams. You hit the knockdown 3. He's also a guy that can slash. Cade Cunningham, you talked about. Man, the thing that's so cool about Cade can play off ball, can play on the ball. Cade doesn't mind letting denIvey shine.
He has no ego.
He has no ego. Cade Cunningham came to Detroit Pistons do one thing, and that was win a championship.